We use them to describe our worst days. You're caught between a rock and a hard place. You're forced to choose the lesser of two evils. Or maybe you find yourself lured in by a siren song. These phrases originate from a 3,000-year-old nightmare, Homer's epic poem, the Odyssey. While it reads as an adventure story about a king traveling home from Troy, the poem tracks specific, recurring patterns of human decision-making. Odysseus's journey mirrors the daily dilemmas, temptations, and crises that threaten to derail our modern lives. To understand how to survive our own worst impulses, we must dissect the three distinct psychological traps Odysseus faced and the brutal lessons they teach us about human nature. The first trap, the Sirens, represents the pull of immediate, superficial pleasure against long-term fulfillment. The danger isn't a physical attack, but that their song causes you to steer into destruction. Odysseus survives by plugging the crew's ears with beeswax and having himself tied to the mast, so he hears the song but cannot act. This is the concept of pre-commitment, the psychological tactic of removing your own ability to act on future temptations while you are still in a rational state of mind. Surviving deep temptation relies on disciplined foresight and deliberately limiting your own choices before the impulse hits. The second trap, Scylla and Charybdis, is a no-win scenario rooted in real-world geography. This is the Strait of Messina, a narrow bottleneck where every path leads to loss. The dilemma is mathematically certain. Navigating the whirlpool, Charybdis, risks the total annihilation of the ship. Facing the six-headed monster, Scylla, guarantees the loss of exactly 6 men. This nautical nightmare evolved into the proverb of choosing the lesser of two evils, a concept refined by 16th-century philosophers like Erasmus. In modern times, the metaphor describes the agonizing political choices of leaders navigating national crises. This trap teaches a harsh reality of leadership. Sometimes, avoiding complete disaster requires actively choosing and accepting inevitable loss. The final trap on the island of Thrinacia involves the cattle of Helios. This challenge is entirely internal. A month-long storm traps the crew on the island. Chronic hunger, fatigue, and despair begin to erode their discipline. Eventually, the crew disobeys direct orders to slaughter the sun god's sacred cattle, trading their long-term survival for immediate relief from suffering. Unlike the siren scene, restraint wasn't physically enforced here. Their willpower collapsed under the weight of sheer exhaustion. Zeus's destruction of the ship highlights how self-discipline slowly, quietly erodes when we are desperate. The monsters of the Odyssey chart the internal geography of the human mind, embodying our desire for the forbidden, our paralysis in bad choices, and our weakness in exhaustion. Heroism, in this sense, involves acknowledging our inherent flaws, using strategic foresight, and paying the heavy costs of survival. These ancient metaphors remain universally relevant because human nature has not changed in 3,000 years. As long as we face impossible choices, we will always be sailing the Strait of Messina. Success depends on the foresight to tie ourselves to the mast before the song begins.